The Pittsburgh Steelers definitely have a type when choosing their wide receivers. Like a degenerate fetish, the black and gold enjoy nothing more than chasing after the bad boy. I can fix him, they'll tell themselves, slowly crying to sleep as their boy toys out till 3 a.m. and breaks everything in the house. Hey, it worked in the movies, it can work for them too! This is a tale of diva receivers. A running back who made an all-in bet on himself and lost. A young star crashed out faster than a 98 Corolla on the PA Turnpike. And the team who brought them on to the league. In a world where an above-average NFL receiver can receive a $15 million a year payday, it's unsurprising when someone with an already inflated ego gets generational wealth and declares themselves a demigod. Yet nestled in southwestern Pennsylvania, the Steelers have a PhD in drafting players who are equal parts insanely talented and borderline insane. We found their secret playbook. Step 1. Draft a guy genetically altered with the DNA of equal parts Cheetah and Chet Hanks. 2. Watch him dominate the AFC North, forcing defenses to track him every single snap. 3. Spontaneously combust. 4. Repeat with new player. Our first example, although definitely not a premium crashout, is one Plaxico Burress. Drafted in 2000, the Steelers took one look at this 6'5" specimen who could outjump a kangaroo with Spider-Man's hands and decided they would be absolutely brain dead to pass up the opportunity, making him the 8th overall selection. But quickly, Plax proved to be Drama City, and routinely brought the NFL world's eyes to the Steel City in a less than ideal fashion. Starting in his rookie year, where he spiked the ball after a great catch in play against the Jags. Only problem was that he was never down. It was a fumble. Jacksonville recovered. Bill Cowher's chin dislodged in shock. If only that were it. He accrued fines for skipping practices, whining to the media about play calling, and after 4 years making the Steelers decide to let the dynamic dipshit walk in free agency. He'd take his talents to New York, where in the prime of his career, Plaxico would earn a Super Bowl ring with the Giants. Burress had some pretty big catches for the G-men, especially in that Super Bowl. Fortunately, he was in the end zone, so it was more than okay to spike that ball. It also upset some chubby white guy on the other team. Good times were had by all. Plax then peaked with a bang. No, literally, Mr. Burress clearly didn't catch the safety being off one fateful night in New York. Just 1 year removed from his Super Bowl heroics, Plaxico was entering a nightclub when his Glock 19 slipped from the band of his pants. Apparently, Plax's reflexes are just as sharp off the field, because rather than the gun fumbling to the ground, he managed to snag it. By yet I mean the trigger, shooting himself in the leg in the process. He might have made great catches, but Plaxico didn't sport the hole in his foot with quite the same poise. With their star wideout sideline, the Giants would finish the regular season losing 3 of 4 and fizzle out in the wild card. After serving a 20-month prison sentence on weapons charges relating to his holy foot, Plaxico would spend one last uneventful year with the Jets. And after no suitors were interested, he quietly had another cup of coffee with the Steelers and retired. Nobody really remembered that Plax had a second tour of duty here. But in a trend that we will see repeat itself time and time again as we continue, it seems the Steelers have a knack for harvesting problem players, but ditch them right before the ticking time bomb goes kaboom. How did that B-roll get in there? Plaxico would spend life after football keeping a low profile. First as an intern coach with the Cardinals, and as of 2 years ago, the proud new dad of a juice bar business. In 2015, he pleaded guilty to charges of tax evasion in New Jersey totaling $48,000. But the real crime he wants us to forget, this stint on Celebrity Wife Swap.
Next time on Celebrity Wife Swap.
Bye.
NFL champion Plaxico Burress and hip-hop star from 3 6 Mafia DJ Paul swap wives for 1 week.
You're not gonna eat up here?
No. Do not spill those chips in my car. It's just not going to be easy.
You can go back now.
Tiffany is the boringest of the boring.
And the drama amps up when the stars collide.
I want him to do whatever he wants to do. You have a lot, so it's not fair that he can just sit there.
Next up, Santonio Holmes, or as Yinzers like to call him, San Antonio Holmes. If you're like me, anytime you hear that name, this video's burned in your brain.
Washington outside left. Roethlisberger has time. Throws to the back of the end zone, and it is caught for a touchdown by Holmes.
This catch snagged Holmes' Super Bowl 43 MVP, an accolade that oddly is not an oddity for the Steelers. Hines Ward and Lynn Swann earned that honor before as receivers. But off the field, let's say it's not a clean slate. Domestic disputes were another fixture of Holmes' career. His first, coming only 2 months after being drafted, was for alleged disorderly conduct in Miami Beach, Florida. It'd be dropped after he paid the fine. Another run-in with the law in June of that same year, with allegations of abusing the mother of one of his children in ways that YouTube would instantly give this vid the yellow $ sign of doom. Holmes would get off with a slap on the wrist only because the victim didn't want to publicly testify. And Holmes said he would receive mandatory therapy and counseling through the NFL. Unforgivably, he'd get picked up just 3 months before his iconic Super Bowl catch for possessing the devil itself. That horrible garden reaper. I'm glad he likes smoking because hellfire awaits you for that one, pal. Santonio would also be a trendsetter, being the first player seemingly in NFL history to publicly tweet about wanting out of Pittsburgh. The guy was a walking headline, and that's saying something for this league. Eventually, the Steelers felt pressured enough to flip him to the Jets in 2010 for a 5th-round pick. That itself should force you how much he forced their hand. A player a few years earlier won you the Super Bowl with the iconic catch of a decade was now on another squad for a small draft trinket. Like swapping a Lamborghini for an '08 Saturn Vue. Holmes isn't done yet, though, because problem players don't just get everything they want and say, I'm satisfied with how things are. I won't make any more fuss. During his second season in New Jersey, Santonio would catch even more controversy. Sir, there's been a second domestic assault allegation. Allegedly throwing a glass of liquor at a woman's face in a nightclub and then slicing her with the broken shards of glass above her eye. Holmes then supposedly told the woman that, quote, he was an NFL player and could not face criminal charges. So we're just ripping off the plotline from Lethal Weapon 2 now? He apparently had the power of foresight. The victim would later tell the press that she felt pressured not to press charges by both the police and Holmes himself. The woman was shit out of luck regardless because the police never filed a report. And she was later pressured to drop her suit against Holmes for damages and medical expenses. Without a paper trail, the NFL never levied any punishment against him. After this, not-so-Sherlock Holmes would unknowingly pioneer an act that would become a fixture of many problem children of the NFL. A grade A Twitter crashout. Sure, tweeting someone who criticized you for allegedly assaulting multiple women to kill yourself may seem almost adorable today, but this was one of the first instances of a player's social media post being held against them and their character. Not to mention the media buzz that being a player in New York already affords you. All that being said, after almost a decade out of their hair, Santonio would eventually sign a one-day contract and retire as a Steeler in 2017. Not exactly a storybook ending. But whitewashing the problems a player has in the past isn't really anything new in sports, is it? Is it? Is it? Did you really expect this guy not to be here? Antonio Brown. Drafted in 2010, AB was a little-known receiver from Central Michigan, not even on most teams' draft boards. Going to Pittsburgh as a 6th-round human highlight reel. Brown would start his NFL career with 6 straight 100-catch seasons, a whopping 7,300 yards from 2013 to 18, a dead Cleveland Browns punter, and dance moves that had Dancing with the Stars recruiters drooling. Strangely, something else Steelers receivers aren't a stranger to. But AB's ego seemed to grow just a bit faster than his trophy case. Things certainly weren't helped with that hit. Although if Ryan Clark's to be believed, his antics were getting cancerous long before that. Afterwards, things accelerated like a hadron collider. Sideline tantrums were common, live streaming locker room post-game speeches on Facebook, and publicly butting heads with his QB via public radio show. By 2018, the Steelers weren't only seeing the writing on the wall, AB was stabbing them with it. It might have been after the trade me let's find out tweet or the throwing furniture off a 14th floor balcony thing. After Brown skipped the team meeting and a walkthrough the following Saturday, then showed up to Heinz Field the next day thinking he would suit up like nothing happened, he was benched and would leave the stadium before half. AB demanded a trade out. His ego was bruised. Pittsburgh then shipped Brown to a place not even a team wanted to be. Oakland, California. Netting just a 3rd and 5th round pick for hands down the most explosive receiver in the league. The hot air balloon he came down in for camp wasn't the only noise he'd make there. Brown released private convos with his new head coach, skipped mandatory meetings, threatened to retire over not getting to wear his old helmet, and eventually got cut before ever playing a single snap for the Silver and Black. He pissed away $30 million guaranteed in the process. But no one loves reclamation projects more than Brady and Belichick. So Brown signed with New England shortly after. And in his debut, AB would catch 4 passes for 56 yards and a TD during a slaughter of Dolphins. Antonio was released after that one game following an investigation of sexual assault going public. A year later, he'd then join his dickbag friend Tom in Tampa. Brown would actually ride the Bucs roster to a Super Bowl ring and a $20 million extension, which he would literally walk away from in a high-profile blaze of glory. Yes, it's still hard to believe this happened during a game. After running himself out of the NFL shirtless, Brown has spent just as much time in court as he has in the recording booth. His next favorite hobby's running champion Arena League teams to dirt in 4 months. But I already made a vid about that in the past. It's fucking painful. Now Antonio Brown is broke and was arrested for attempted murder. This guy seriously pissed away a potential bust in Canton. What the fuck? Legally, JuJu Smith-Schuster is the least offensive personality in this list, but he definitely made his mark online. JuJu genuinely was an electric talent on the Steelers. Not only in terms of being a star on the field, but causing other receivers to flat out implode on themselves. It wasn't just AB, but Martavis Bryant. There's another diva to add to the pile when he's free from his many suspensions. JuJu wasn't what he was when lined up next to AB, but he helped them stumble into an 11-0 start for the 2020 season. All while making the baffling decision to film TikToks dancing on opposing teams' midfield logos, while calling Cleveland nameless gray faces during a press scrum. The Browns is the Browns, alright. They beat the ever-loving shit out of Pittsburgh in the wild card. JuJu did live up to his nickname, though, when he absolutely bitch-blasted Vontaze Burfict in a healthy dose of karma for that hit, since he responded in kind years later in the form of Von Bell. Don't get me wrong, Smith-Schuster wasn't AB-level chaos, he was merely childish and immature. But when he made the decision to sign with Kansas City in 2022, Yinzer seemed more than happy to see him drive off in his Corvette. Go ask the Patriots how they feel about him. I dare ya. Feel free to call it a bonus entry, but the tale of Le'Veon Bell follows our established pattern to a T. Drafted out of Michigan State in 2013, Le'Veon Bell became known for a style of running that truly had no comparison. Bell instead used his vision in Pittsburgh's elite O-line to patiently wait for an opening, and then force his 6'1" frame down the seam of a defense to the tune of over 2,200 all-purpose yards in 2014 alone. Bell's emergence would be the final piece to the dominant killer bees alongside AB, Big Ben, and Chris Boswell, also known as Kicking Jesus. Bell's got baggage too, though, starting with an arrest of him and LeGarrette Blount for hotboxing the Devil's Lettuce in his breakout season.
Stay off the damn weed!
Speaking of Blount, he also had his diva moments here. Dude sulked about not getting the ball, walked off the field before the end of the game, then Tomlin expelled him from Steeler campus. He was promptly punished by returning to the Patriots and winning a ring. God damn it. Back on topic to Le'Veon. Then came a knee injury that took him out for a few games the following year. And another substance violation in 2016. The Steelers brass were slightly wary about breaking the bank for Bell's services. The fans weren't, though. And chance of pay the man broke out in Pittsburgh after Bell's 170-yard performance in the playoffs against the Chiefs. But here's where it gets interesting. The Steelers slapped Bell with a franchise tag in 2017 worth $12.1 million. He reluctantly played, racked up just under 2,000 total yards, and expected a mega deal. Pittsburgh offered a 5-year, $70 million contract in 2018, with $33 million over the first 2 years. Sounds juicy, right? Nope. He wanted that sweet guaranteed money. Bell wanted to leverage his pass-catching ability to get receiver money. $17 million a year plus said guaranteed money. When the Steelers tagged him again at $14.5 million, Bell chose to sit out the entirety of the 2018 season. He'd become a free agent on the open market. Bell bet on himself, thinking he'd cash in even after spending an entire season on the couch. Spoiler alert, he lost. Bell inked a 4-year, $52 million deal with the Jets, with $27 million guaranteed. A far cry from what he was gunning for. But the Jets' O-line wasn't the steel security blanket he was used to. And without time to pick apart the defensive line's holes, Bell's patient running style got him crushed, averaging a paltry 3.3 yards per carry. After one more miserable sunken cost fallacy half season, he was unceremoniously told to fuck off. He spent a few years drifting around practice squads like the Chiefs, Ravens, and Bucks, where he was all but a glorified bench warmer, and by 2023, Bell was out of the NFL entirely. Burning every bridge behind you isn't anything new, but when one of those places was Pittsburgh, you might be a better arsonist than running back. And like moths to a flame, this diva talent too would end up on a shitty network TV show after their talent dried up. Besides his appearance as Milkshake, Bell's fall from grace wasn't yet complete. And earlier this year, Le'Veon and his brother Levante were found civilly liable in an Ohio court case alleging they had non-consensual relations with an underage female cousin over the course of a prior decade. For what it's worth, Bell denies even living in the state at the time. But his high school revoked the name of a football field named in his honor due to that. And Bell flaking on a promised monetary donation. Le'Veon later admitted he wished he never left the green pastures of Pittsburgh. You don't say. You left tens of millions of dollars on the table to join the Jets, who are the NFL equivalent of willingly driving your car off a cliff. A potential bust in Canton squandered in a cautionary tale of ego and despicable acts. Mostly his terrible rapping. Enter George Pickens, the latest contestant on the Crashout Factory. Drafted in 2022 out of Georgia, this bulldog was a second-round steal with first-round talent. But for a good reason. Think Antonio Brown's hands with a helping of his sideline tantrums. George was known for his temper and partook in plenty of fights on the field during his time in college. That, alongside a junior year ACL tear, put a few teams on edge and hesitant to spend a first-rounder on this boomer bust prospect. Being hampered by a Matt Canada offense, Pickens burst onto the scene with 801 yards as a rookie, then led the NFL with over 18 yards per catch the year after, racking up 1,140 yards and 5 TDs. The dude's a human highlight reel. Contested catches, deep play threats, and a swagger that screams, "I'm the main character." But away from the ball, this guy's drama made AB look like... AB. Picture this. Eye black with open fucking always against the Cowboys. More on them later. A scuffle with those Cowboys. Routinely taking plays off. Fighting a commie during a live play. A post-game scuffle with Browns' Greg Newsome II. And 2 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties against Cincy in one game. Like Tomlin's reaction? He's gotta grow up. In a hurry. He didn't. It gets better, or worse, depending on your popcorn supply. Pickens repeatedly showed up late for the Christmas Day game against the Chiefs in 2024. After loafing on a play in 2023 that had Tomlin defending him like a dad pleading with his angry wife desperately trying to keep the family together. His Week 18 game against the Bengals? No catches, multiple big drops, chirping home fans, a terrible miscommunication on the final drive. Then there's the social media shade. GP arguing with fans on Instagram, calling the Steelers the cheapest organization after they shipped him out. Oh, and he hinted he wanted out, claiming it wasn't just Pittsburgh's call. Whether that's true or not, the writing was on the wall when the Steelers traded for DK Metcalf in March of 2025. 2 big play receivers who are home run hitters with hot and cold streaks crash out constantly with egos bigger than Acrisure Stadium. Yeah, that wasn't gonna work. Speaking of ego, here's the kicker. And here's the real kicker. Aaron Rodgers reportedly played a role in Pickens' exit. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler dropped the bomb that Pittsburgh knew A-Rod's demanding vibe wouldn't mesh with GP's maturity issues. With Rodgers mulling a 9-8 Super Bowl celebration in 2025, they chose stability over chaos. So on May the 7th, boom, Pickens and a 6th get shipped off to the Cowboys for a 3rd and a 5th. Exiled to the hell of Jerry World. And from his 2025 campaign, things worked out more than well. For Pickens, he was finally able to consistently flash his talents in a real offense and keep the crash-outs to a reasonable minimum. Reasonable. 3rd in the league in receiving yards and a 2nd-team All-Pro nomination. Is that good? Stop acting in hindsight, he wasn't doing this in Pittsburgh, especially not in an Arthur Smith offense. There's only one issue for Dallas. Contract year. And you know how Jerry loves his stars. Even for his character red flags, that man's gonna get paid. Well, at least Pittsburgh managed to get themselves a respected adult in the receiver room. DK Metcalf was the punch they needed for their offense. Somehow he one-upped George Pickens in more than pay scale. That's impressive. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh's left with DK, Calvin Austin III, a sort of rookie Roman Wilson who barely played in 2024 due to injuries, and 2025 due to being in the coach's doghouse. Then comes the chorus of Aaron Rodgers' merry men. MVS, Scotty Miller, Pro Bowl gunner Ben Skoranek, and Adam Thielen? Figured it would have been Alan Lazard, but there are surprises. It'd be really easy to look at this list of personalities and point the finger at the Steelers organization itself. After all, the list of crash-outs isn't exactly short, and we haven't even touched on all of them. Mike Wallace was one of the OG divas, a home run threat that eventually took his ways to Miami for a paycheck, which should have been considered theft. There was who the Yinzers called Martavius Bryant, who we went over briefly earlier. When traded for a pittance, he didn't do all that well for the Raiders. He got hurt and then the NFL gave him a permanent banhammer. Chase Claypool prematurely celebrated a first down not only on the field, but after Chicago got hoodwinked into giving up a 2nd-round pick that became Joey Porter Jr. for him. Dude's not even a top 3 wide receiver on the unemployment line right now. Deontay Johnson didn't just crash out. He flat out refused to go into a game as a Raven and then bitched in the locker room as a Texan. Before they cut his ass too. Antoine Randall is now an assistant head coach for the Bears. However, after looking into this phenomenon, I want to propose a different theory. Each player discussed here had tremendous talent entering the league, and on a Steelers offense helmed by a future Hall of Fame QB at one point, had every opportunity to play their best football possible, some even earning a ring in the process. Many, like Pickens and Plaxico, had known character issues before the Steelers even drafted them. One thing I'll respect is the timing that comes with Pittsburgh ejecting these guys. The noted receivers, running backs, hell, even corners that leave the Steelers only reached the point of a true crash out after leaving Pittsburgh. Yes, AB was escalating to alarming levels in 2018, but only after he was cast off did he truly bury his head in the sand. I think Tomlin and Pittsburgh had a sixth sense of knowing when it was time to cut bait with highly talented yet volatile players. They knew when Bell had overplayed his hand in contract negotiations, when Brown had grown too big for his britches, when Pickens couldn't keep his hands to himself, when JuJu's media antics became more trouble than they were worth, and even when Mapletron had exhausted his welcome, and seemingly his talent. The Steelers had to pay the cancer tax for most of these problem players, but if you look at the teams they landed on, most of them didn't recruit any meaningful on-field production either. Minus Plaxico and GP. With Tomlin now gone though, this might change. New leadership may have the organization thinking they aren't able to fix these talents long term. Hell, I'm honestly surprised they didn't leave Shedeur Sanders as a parting gift. Because as much as Yingers may grow tired of 9-8 Super Bowls, Tomlin loved his reclamation projects. It was like a father figure to them. But the moment a personality exceeded their worth to the cause, they find themselves elsewhere. Or worse.